this building, Shri Umesh Fatherford, Professor D.G. Joshi, and my friends and colleagues from the different colleges in Maharashtra and Karnataka. It is an honor for me to be asked to inaugurate this seminar. I thank the principal and the organizers for inviting me to this important function. The Gopte and Walke College of Banda is a young college which has, in a short span of 17 years, shown remarkable progress in the field of education and become an important center of higher learning in the district of Sindhudurg and Konkan region. The college caters to the needs of the people of a non-metropolitan area. Hence, it plays a very important role in the building of the country, in the country's scheme of overall development of education in India. The theme of the workshop, namely innovative practices in education, is very important at this time when the academic authorities are talking of the present period as the day of the knowledge society and the age of global competition, to which all institutions are asked to adjust themselves. You have to adjust to this competition. That is what all of them say. I wholly welcome this endeavor in today's seminar to give orientation to our teaching faculty in the new processes and techniques in the field of imparting instruction. However, in this inaugural address, I should like to draw your attention to some philosophical and pedagogical issues that are generally ignored in the academic discourse of this sort, where central agencies like the UGC or NAAC are involved. Some basic issues are missed when UGC and the NAAC come in. What the principal said, the teacher cannot be eliminated. That caution is something that we should keep in mind. The breaking up of a totality. Education is a total process. We are all teachers and we deal with young people who are our students. The teacher-student relation is a totally human relationship, like the mother-child relation, which transcends all economic and commercial considerations. This relation, teacher-student, is above all relations of money. Whether we are paid or not, we will continue to teach. So it is not the money that makes us pay work. The payment is a part because we have to live. Just as a mother, but this does not break up. It is a different matter that teachers are paid for their work. But this does not break up the pristine relationship of teacher-student. Just as a mother becomes a mother only through the child, we are teachers only through our link with our students. The teacher-student relation of teaching is the way in which we express our personality as a teacher. The process of education is a part of our self-expression as human beings. So look at it not as work which is paid for, look at it as an expression of our existence. A mother expresses herself as a mother through the bonding with the child. In the present world, where there is a tendency for all relations to become eventually commercialized, there is the imminent danger of this relation of teacher-student also getting commercialized. The entire process may be called the reification of a relation. I am using a philosophical term. The reification, the meaning of the term reify is to convert an abstract mentally into a thing. In Latin, res means thing. So an abstract is made into a thing. And this involves putting the relation first as teacher educates student, and then taking out the term educates as an independent entity and finally placing a price on educates by converting this into a commodity. Teacher-student relationship is made as teacher educates student, and then the educate is taken out abstractly packaged into a commodity and sold. This is what is happening in the whole world. Commodification of education on a vast scale is seen in the present era, and especially in the period after 1991, when the neoliberal policies were first introduced in this country. Now, to make it into a package, you have to cut off certain things. What is it that you can sell? What is it that you can send from one country to the other in a globalized economy? You can't sell Baba Ambedkar's thought in a globalized economy. So education process has to be broken. That is my next idea. The entire exercise of innovation of teaching, learning and evaluation needs to be seen in this context. We should ask the question, is this project a part of this commodification, or is it a genuine attempt to help both teacher and student in making their relationships more meaningful? The seminar should be utilized to make this relation between teacher and student more meaningful. It should not be a part of the UGC to further commodify education. We should wholeheartedly welcome all attempts to make the use of advances in science in the field of ICT, information and communication technology, to reduce the drudgery of teaching overpacked classes, loudspeaker and all those teaching aids, and assessing large numbers of papers. However, that should be done after the class sizes are brought down, not as a preliminary step to increase class sizes further and thereby to reduce the number of teachers. This is what Dr. Samant was saying. Computer cannot be a replacement of a teacher. Introduction of ICT should be to further enrich, not to make teachers obsolete, not to make teachers surplus. The introduction of the ICT should be made not with the intent of maximizing revenue. This will certainly be the case if the principle of public funding of education in higher education is jettisoned. Today there is public funding of higher education. And it is not your salary comes from your fees. Fees are independent, salaries are independent. They come from the government. This is called public funding. So public funding is a must. If public funding is not there, then fees are linked up with the payment, as is happening in many of the unaided institutions. Unfortunately, this is what is taking place in our country in a big way. Now, how do you commodify education? Teacher, student, educates. How do you make that into a commodity for sale? Like brinjal, bhendi. How do you make it into a commodity? First, you have to cut it and clean it. One way in which the principle of commodification of education takes place is through the breaking up of the integral process of education of society. Education of society for a better society. You see, that is the aim of education. Education into parts, which then help in the process of selling and buying, since selling and buying is the basis of commodification. However, to break up the process, it is first necessary to remove from the ambit of education all those parts and subjects which tend to raise people's consciousness to work for a change of society into a higher and more just system, as visualized, for example, by Mahatma Phule or Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar. That is the content, social content. Why are we teaching? Why are we learning? So that we transform ourselves into a better society. A better society as visualized by the seers all over the world. Whether it is Gautam Buddha or Jesus Christ or Muhammad Nabi, they have all seen a better world where this relation, human relation is not broken up. All those parts have to be removed. Otherwise, how will you package and sell it? If you want to package education into a commodity, then all these parts have to be removed. Like a cabbage, you first remove all that and then sell it, is it not? But what they are removing is the fundamental part, the core, the value system. These are the subjects, for example, these are the subjects in the humanities like history, literature, philosophy, and sociology. These are typically subjects that today do not command a competitive price in the market. These are subjects for which there is no market, unfortunately, but they are important for society. Even in other subjects, like pure sciences or literatures, the basic theories are undermined and technical and practical aspects are projected. For example, physics. Break up physics. Just take the computer part. Kill the physics department. I'm not talking about small colleges like yours, but in big colleges. So that you have a room. If there is not enough admission for the TY, you close the TY and you have a room for computers. This is the process, that is the breaking up process. These subjects are broken up into small bits, modules or units, which are then amenable to packing and sale after digitization. Convert all this knowledge into digits. Put it in the computer. 0101, that makes it digitized, and then you can sell. This is where the ICT revolution is taken advantage of. ICT is a great boom. It can be used to diagnose diseases. You take the test here, and while the Americans are sleeping, the process is done in Bangalore and then taken back. That is possible. ICT can be used for human development. But ICT is being used for this purpose of breaking up the subject into modules, small units, and then digitalizing it. As Thomas Friedman, it's a very important book. Thomas Friedman, the author of the book, The World is Flat, stated, what can be digitalized can be globalized. You put your subject into digits, and then with the computer you send it abroad, make it into lessons which can be sold. This becomes the basic principle while restructuring education under the neoliberal globalized economy. It involves the cutting up of the integrally united subject into small, saleable parts, which can be internationally transferred using the ICT independently of the teacher. This is what Dr. Sawant was hinting at. Independently of the teacher, education independently of the teacher. That is the idea. Teacher creates, and then the consumer. Teacher is only a facilitator. He's not an educator. He's not a seer. He's not a philosopher guide. He's a facilitator. And students are the clients. This is the whole picture that is emerging. The teacher is left merely to deal with the units separately in the classroom and to conduct a program of tests periodically. In the University of Mumbai, for example, more than half the time of the teacher is spent in correcting assignments. Very little interaction takes place between teacher and student. That is the place where the spiritual joy of teaching learning process is experienced. The exciting adventure of ideas. Jawaharlal Nehru, when he wrote about the UGC, there is a quotation. This is the place where the adventure of ideas take place. The exciting adventure of ideas about which Jawaharlal Nehru spoke while speaking of the universities is completely missing in this arrangement. The for-profit principle. Now I am coming to December 2012. The new 12th plan 2012-17 that was approved by the National Development Council in late December 2012, the government visualizes a paradigm shift in the expansion of facilities in higher education, which needs to be widely debated. We are all aware that the Supreme Court in several judgments has stated that an education institution cannot be a profit-making enterprise. While the focus of expansion in the plan period is going to be the private sector, the Planning Commission has given a major role to the private sector. The government is planning to convert education into a profit-earning exercise. For the first time in the 12th plan document, the government is saying there should be profit. And I am giving the quotation. This article is there in Teachers of the World just issued. Some copies are available with the principal. The Planning Commission has given the plan document states that not-for-profit status. What is today's status according to the Supreme Court? Not-for-profit. You may have a surplus which you use to plow back into the college, to develop, build hostels, build the garden, build the gymkhana. But education cannot be per se a profit-oriented thing. The plan document states that not-for-profit status in higher education should perhaps be re-examined. It should be re-examined for pragmatic considerations so as to allow the entry of for-profit institutions in select areas where acute shortages persist. This formulation implies that the government is now planning to go against the Supreme Court verdict that education cannot be a means of making profits. It must be stated here that to convert education into a profitable enterprise, government will have to take the initiative to amend Section 25 of the Companies Act. I am not going into that because that is in that article by Shikshan, which is in Teachers of the World. This serious development. It is in this light that we should see the recent decision of AICTE, Indian Express, April 9th, and editorial Indian Express, April 10th, 9th and 10th. It is in this light we should see that the recent decision of AICTE to allow the opening of profit-based engineering colleges, and following this, the bidding by 4 corporate houses in India for starting such institutions. And one is Satyam. You heard of Satyam, which has now been taken over by Reliance. Satyam Reliance is now one of the 4 opening engineering colleges. This serious development, which is a further advance of the profit principle under the neoliberal framework, should make us raise our guard when we consider the proposals for introducing innovations in the field of teaching, learning and evaluation. While it is very important to understand what the ICT has to offer in this field, we should also be clear in our minds about the context that we are facing. However, in spite of this difficult situation, we should remember that we are teachers and we should do our best for our students. The present college, that is Gopte College, the present college which has given us this opportunity is not governed by this for-profit principle. We should work to make such institutions more effective and attractive in the community of colleges and the university. As teachers, we should do the extra work involved in equipping ourselves to face the challenges of the future, and at the same time prepare ourselves to oppose the negative trend that we see in the 12th plan document. The teacher-student relationship cannot survive in a commercial setup. As the World Federation of Teachers Unions has repeatedly demanded, education in every country should be publicly funded. It has to be so in our country. It has largely been so in our country. We should endeavor to see that education remains publicly funded in the future also, especially when the attempts are being made to introduce the profit principle in the field of education. With these words, I declare that the seminar has been inaugurated. Thank you.